So starting at the bottom of 271,
Mhm.
outside their room, a corridor 3.5 feet wide was erected out of bamboo matting with a tin roof so that it could be used even during the monsoon season. This enclosed passageway served a dual purpose, mainly to shield the women from the sun and heat as they walked back and forth from their room to the kitchen, but also to maintain strict privacy so that Mara could not see out or be seen. She was never even to glimpse a man from afar, such as someone working in the fields. And every precaution was taken so that he would not see her. In addition, the order given in Nasik about having one of the women with Mara at all times continued to be observed at Meherabad. Either Mani or Khorshid kept watch outside the bathroom when Mara went for a bath or to the toilet. They sat on the steps until she finished and then escorted her back to their room or to the kitchen, which is where they spent all their time in the early days on the hill. We never went round the compound for a walk, Mara commented. We were too busy. We didn't even walk inside within the confines. Scroll, please. Within the confines of the compound, from our east room to the kitchen and back. For many years, that was it. But even though we didn't walk about here or there in the evenings, we were so content in Meherabad. We just waited for Baba to return from the Mandali. When others came, they roamed about the compound, but we four girls, Mara, Mani, Khorshid, Naja, never left the room or kitchen. Baba was so sweet. After some time, he saw that we were just working and working. When we finished for the day, we went to our rooms and sewed. One day, Baba brought badminton rackets and shuttlecocks. He didn't want us to feel cooped up, so he had a badminton court built where the tin shed is now. The badminton court was laid down with lines, and a net was put up. Nearly every morning for some time, Baba played with the women for 10 or 15 minutes after breakfast. Baba liked to give smashes. Then he told them to continue playing while he went down the hill and played tennis at Lower Meherabad on a makeshift court. The sun was not strong yet, and the girls played for another half hour and then finished cooking before Baba returned. I guess I should read that sidebar before it goes away. The girls were referred to collectively by the Mandali as the upper Mas, meaning those residing at Upper Meherabad, or as the Andamas, meaning those kept inside. Back to badminton. They were told to play every day. Badminton was the only recreation we had in those days, Mani said. As we went to the kitchen through the Tata passage, came back and went nowhere else except where it concerned Baba. While the others were playing badminton, Naja and Franey, when she visited, did some gardening. They kept a vegetable creeper on the barbed wire fence around their compound, and they also planted beds of flowers and a morning glory creeper outside the east room, where Mehera, Mani, Khorshid, and Naja stayed. Baba himself planted the neem tree outside their kitchen. The tree was brought to Upper Meherabad from Ahmednagar by bullock cart and was already 3 or 4 feet high and packed with soil around its roots. As it was being lowered into the hole, Baba touched its trunk. Since it was so hot most of the time, whenever Baba walked up or down the hill, Sunamasi or Kaku held an umbrella over him. Walu thought it would be better if there were shade trees lining the path. So in December 1933, she planted saplings on either side of the path and carried water on her shoulders to water them. Walu loved animals and gardening, Mehera observed. She planted and tended the lemon and mango trees in our compound, besides the trees on the approach road leading up the hill. She did most of the work herself, and she did it with so much love and care. Although she had 2 servants under her, still she would take the tools from their hands and make the pits broader and deeper. Jasmine and curry leaf bushes were also planted, along with more neem trees. It was Walu, too, who washed Baba's clothes on the hill, whereas Mehera had done this before. Baba frequently carried letters and pieces of paper with numbers written on them in the 2 big pockets of his coat. Sometimes he pulled out a piece of paper from one pocket, glanced at it, and put it in the other pocket. Oh, and the sidebar says a pipeline and water pump were installed later from the well at Lower Meherabad to a tank at Upper Meherabad, so that water no longer had to be carried up the hill by bullock cart each day. However, most of these trees and shrubs on the hill did not survive because of the infertile soil and poor rainfall. Moreover, after they left on the new life, no one watered them. And, okay. Once before washing his coat, Walu forgot to remove the papers from his pockets and inadvertently washed the few letters that were there. Panic ensued. What should she do now? Baba will be furious, she thought. Carefully, she extracted each soaking letter and hung it on the clothesline to dry. But Baba was not upset. When you expected Baba to really be fiery over something, said Mani, he would chuckle over it. Sometimes when there was nothing, Baba was very angry. Baba wore ordinary Muslim sadras, and this type of material wrinkles easily after washing. So Mehera still, quote unquote, ironed it, as she had done at Lower Meherabad, by folding it well under a towel and pressing down. Under his sadra, Baba wore long white boxer type shorts called chadis. His sadras and chadis came pre-stitched from Navsari Baba lovers, so there was always plenty. And there's a sidebar saying, Franey made Baba a lightweight woolen coat of a rust color called American Beauty that Baba wore for some time. Its pockets bulged with letters, and he called it his post office. Someone gave Baba a crimson velvet dressing gown too, as well as a blue one and a white flannel robe for winter that he wore over his sadra. Baba's legs were slim, lovely and strong, Mehera said, to which Mani added, Baba's legs were so slender, like a child's. That's so sweet of Mehera to kind of put a cute spin on Baba's skinny legs, huh? If it were cool, Baba wore the Comley coat. During this time, Gulmai gave Baba the first of his many pink coats. This one, stitched by an Abhinagar tailor, of light pink cotton material. Mehera, however, found it difficult to keep the coats free of wrinkles. Since they did not have an iron and, of course, no electricity, she sprinkled the coat with water, pressed it with her hands, and placed it under some weight between two towels. In the afternoon or evening, she checked its dampness and then hung it outside until it was dry. Much later, someone brought an old-fashioned iron from Bombay that used a burning coal inside. But the coal had to be fanned constantly to keep it glowing, and the ashes often fell on the clothes. After pressing Baba's clothes, Mehera darned the torn sadras and tightened the buttons on his coats. Yeah, we're repeating this, I think, from last week.
We did read this?
Yeah, I remember what's his name? The Indian man, boy, in between.
Meher something.
Yeah, Meher. Yeah, Meher talked about chadis a little bit. Yeah.
I had written down 272, but maybe I was mistaken.
I wonder if that was from the previous time.
I don't know.
Yeah. Shall we scroll for a while and
Egg curry today. Do you remember that?
well, here's a little no, I do remember these fake eggs, right? Eggs made of
I don't remember that.
remember we talked here's a bit about the Gaudi, and we talked about the Gaudi last week. Yeah. What it was. Meher thought it was a cushion, I guess.
I don't know where we left off then. Do you remember this picture?
Yeah. I think I said
remember that.
yeah, that he's using a safety razor. Here's Meher's pop.
Yeah. Yeah, this does look familiar.
Right, grinding spices, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Annie Oakley.
Right.
Do you think we got this far?
uh Go ahead and read for a while. When you're tired,
Okay.
I'll
The
take
move
another.
back to Meherabad did not signal an end to Meher Baba's absences. He traveled to Madras in February 1934, to Bangalore in April, and in June he left for Europe, where he remained for 2 months. Then in November, he journeyed to America. The women and men Mandali in India did not see him again until mid-February 1935. During all his extended absences, though, although Mehera realized that Baba had to leave for his work, she could not help feeling sorrowful. Khorshid reported that after Baba went abroad, Mehera wept for some days. She did not sit and cry or mope about, but every now and then as she worked throughout the day, and remembered that they would not be seeing Baba for many days to come, tears welled up in her eyes. During one of Baba's trips to the West, Baba suddenly himself looked sad, then explained that Mehera in India was crying because she missed him. When the author asked Mehera to comment on this incident, she replied, "I don't know if it's true, but because I wasn't there, but it must be true. Baba must have said it. He took a long time to come back. We were waiting for him, anxious to see him. Whenever Baba was away for an extended period, he sent letters addressed to Mani. In these, he instructed Mani to give Mehera a message such as, 'Baba hopes that Mehera is all right. How are you all? I hope you are well and obeying my orders.' Then Baba asked about Mehera specifically and sent her a few tender, loving words. Before leaving in November, Baba gave the women a new work project to work on. He instructed them to make a large wooden frame and to put 12 of his photos in it. So Baba gave us this work also. It was a nice occupation. Perhaps he gave it to us to occupy our time, so we didn't feel lonely while he was away. We were doing it for Baba, thinking when he comes, he'll see it. Usually after tea at 3 o'clock, seated on a low wooden stools or their beds, the girls did some sewing, mending of their clothes. Now they began to make the large frame for the 12 of these photos using a hammer and saw. They made crepe paper flowers too for decoration around the photos. Mani had seen the girls at school make such flowers, and she did the roses. Mehera did the forget-me-nots. And they used different colored paper and talked of Baba as they worked. It took a long time to finish it. We couldn't send for photos, so we had to use the ones we had. That is why the same photo is repeated. We had to use those. We were so excited. How lovely, 12 photos in one frame. The room was nice and empty, so we were all working on the floor. We never used tables or chairs. Actually, when Baba had seen the group photos taken by Rano at Hetty Merton's house in Switzerland, in July 1934, he instructed Rano to have his portrait enlarged separately and to send him the copies. Rano had enlargements of 3 different poses made at Kodak in Paris. And these were the 9 photos that Baba gave Mehera for the large frame. Let's see. There was another activity, target practice. Baba gave Mani a BB gun when while he was to practice while he was away. She never used it outside. She aimed it and shot at items in the East Room. Even an old tin jam on a string, even an old jam tin on a string from the rafters. Someone pushed it back and forth, and Mani aimed at and practiced shooting. The rifle could not kill even a lizard. It was not meant for protection, but for recreation. The thought of target practice surprises me now, Mani reflected. But at that time, we not only didn't ask Baba why, we didn't even think of why. Baba wanted me to practice, so I did. I got so good at it that even if someone was a moving target, I could hit it. Mani was also permitted to read certain things. I could read from Illustrated Weekly, but not the newspaper. I collected every little picture from the weekly and shared jokes and games with Mehera. I showed Baba any particularly amusing cartoons when he returned, and I had some contact with the world of innocent magazines and books of knowledge. Mehera, on the other hand, apart from children's comics, was not permitted to read even labels or labels or on tins or boxes. She turned her eyes away from them, but it was difficult to avoid looking at labels of cans and jars while working in the kitchen. They came up with a solution. Said Mani, it was my job to go around sticking blank labels on tins and jars. Lipton tea, Quaker Oats, whatever, in the kitchen. Mani covered the large print, but left the fine print exposed. Nadia had to put her own labels on things such as salt, sugar, which also had to be removed. Orders were usually given but not for all, but for a particular person at a particular time. We all had restrictions, but somehow Mehera's were always more. One rule that applied to all, no naps. None of us was allowed to lie down in the afternoon. Baba gave us enough to keep us occupied at each moment. It was the kind of meditation we were going through all the waking hours. You couldn't even lie down in the afternoon when you were unwell, no matter what your health was in the daytime. We didn't lie down. We used to have severe monthly cramps. I was in bed, but my head would be up. Mehera leaned her head against the iron frame of the bed, but she couldn't lie down. Mani's important order in Baba's absence, however, was to keep a detailed record of Mehera's activities. Baba specified she was to note the exact time for each entry. For example, 8:15 to 8:30 a.m., Mehera was reclining on the bed. 8:30 till 9:45, Mehera is embroidering. 9:45, Mehera is cooking. Okay, you want to take over? Eugene?
I had to unmute. There
Oh,
were separate pages for bath and sleep that had columns for each day. How long Mara slept in bed was recorded. When she ate, when she did anything. I would write down a record of every movement of Mara. I took down everything. That was the duty Baba had given me. This duty, in fact, became Mani's primary occupation and consumed her every waking moment. She made notes only during the day, since there were no electric lights after dark, and they had orders to sleep. But during the afternoon, when Mara sat on her bed sewing, Mani updated her account. In the evening, the diary was a simple, handwritten record kept in an ordinary notebook. Mani recorded each entry and gave it to Baba when he asked for it. But during Baba's trip to America in November 1934, Mani decided to surprise him with a more elaborate version. Baba was so pleased with this, her diary, that I thought I must present it much more beautifully. An added restriction, however, could you scroll, please? Was that now she an added restriction, however, was now she was not allowed to write the word Mara, but had to write she had a cold or M is feeling better. This time I wrote down each entry neatly in a book I had made myself out of some paper. I drew a small clock with the time next to some entries. I even took pictures from the Illustrated Weekly and made cartoons to delight Baba. Each department, that is bath, sleep, each department of news had headings I had made of cartoons. The front page contained the contents, illustrated with a black mammy sweeping with a broom. When you pulled a tab, her eyes rolled back and forth. That was to please Baba. Mani even made a box for the journal out of cardboard with a tiny lock and key. She sewed 4 handkerchiefs together to cover the box and covered the journal itself with another kerchief. On top of the box was embroidered, "There are 2 little kisses inside. When you open them up, to you they'll fly." I put the book inside. When Baba came, this was his gift. This is what I'd done for him to please him. When I put it before Baba and he opened the little lock and key, it, it looked as if it meant the world to him. His expression said, "This was just what I was waiting for." He looked so pleased. That warmed you up like anything. He never really read it. He really didn't want to know every detail of Mara's day. It was my involvement that he wanted. It's not what was accomplished that was important to Baba, but how we were doing it. Every thought, every moment was Baba's. When you did such a little thing for Baba, he made such a big deal out of it. It's like his cup is completely full. It's like his cup is completely full. So the littlest thing put in it makes it overflow. With Baba, we didn't think of progress. We didn't think of growth. We didn't think of anything except just to try to obey as perfectly as possible, to try to please him. When someone asks me, tell me, what were your happiest moments with Baba? My happiest moments were when I had done something that had pleased Baba. And Baba said, looking at me, you have made me happy. I am pleased. You would be on air. What else is higher than that to want, to receive, to long for? Even Baba places that above God realization. My favorite Baba quote is, if you love me as St. Francis loved Jesus, you will not only realize me, but you will please me. It didn't matter how many lifetimes, how many years it takes. Let that be the goal. We didn't even think, I love Baba, or this is my progress, or this is growing in Baba. None of these things came into the picture. You may call it crude or simple, just loving him without knowing it and wanting to please him. My only point is that he would say, try for anything, whatever he wanted. Try your best and I will help you. And he does. So the only thing he asks is that you try your best and be natural. It's not a heavy thing either. With Baba, his sense of humor has created this whole joke. I always say, you have to take even God with a pinch of humor. Mani's record of Mehra's movements did not end upon Baba's return to Meherabad. Baba instructed her to maintain it, and her diary continued for the next 4 years. Mani began typing the entries as detailed before, but now illustrated only in black and white. She continued doing it until they left Meherabad on the Blue Bus tours. With Baba's permission, the pages were sent to Ahmednagar to be bound with blue cardboard binding. Over 30 bound volumes of daily entries were eventually collected. Few of these volumes remain today. After Meher Baba dropped the body, Mani came across them. She and Goher had them destroyed. A large trench was dug at Meherzad, and the diaries were burnt. Why was this done? At that time, we didn't know you, young Western Baba lovers, Mani explained. We thought people would misunderstand about Baba. This, the diaries, was from us, and now it is finished. We did it for Baba, and now it's over. Why, we thought, would people want to know every detail of Mehra's movements, that she washed her face, etc.? It was always our intention to protect Baba's image in our innocent but ignorant way. I didn't tell Mehra about destroying the diaries. We got rid of so many of our concert things also. costumes used for skits. Fortunately, the diary I had done so elaborately had been put by, and it and a few others I missed were saved. I'm not sure what the sidebar is Oh, there it is. Yeah. Describing those years of absolute cloistered life at Meherabad.
I don't see that. Oh, I see where it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Describing those years of absolute cloistered life at Meherabad, Ani stated, "My role has been to be with Mehera always. Our room was was the same wherever we were." Here's the asterisk. If Mani had a bad cold, however, she slept in a separate room so that Mehera would not catch it. So our room was the same wherever we were, at Nasik, in Meherabad, traveling in the blue bus, Meherazad, all those years, the old days when it was difficult for people to understand about Baba and Mehera, my role to be together with Mehera also helped people at that time because it would be Mani Mehera. People understood a sister, yes, Mehera along with Mani. Then in time, in its proper way, when everybody is ready to receive, he gives little by little, Mehera and Mani. Then it would be Mehera on her own. Today, that impact she has. I wonder if what Mani is not saying explicitly is people accepting an unmarried young woman, Mehera, living at the ashram. I guess that's what she's referring to.
Hmm.
And that linking with Mehera with Mani instead made it more acceptable. You know, in those days past when it was like super traditional, super puritanical, you know.
Right.
Speaking of Upper Meherabad in particular, Mani said, "We were three together, Mehera, Mani, and Khorshid. We had to be in the East Room. Baba perhaps was abroad. We didn't step out of the room except to go to the kitchen. And when we did, it was a passageway. Do the work and come right back through the passage and stay in the room. If we went out to the toilet, we all had to go together.
136 and just
If we went out to the toilet, we all had to go out. We all had to go together and come back together. If one of us had to go for a bath, the other had to be with Mehera. The author asked Khorshid, did Mehera ever grow tired of this? Yes. She felt the loss of freedom sometimes, all the time to have to remember to have both near her. We too couldn't go and bring our things if we needed something. So that would mean leaving Mehera alone in the kitchen, for example. It was difficult, but at the same time, we felt happy and loved to obey Baba, so we did it. All three of us were fed up. Khorshid recalled that Mani had once asked Baba, why does it have to be two people with Mehera? One will be enough. No, Baba. It should be two. If one goes to sleep or rests inadvertently, the other will be awake with her. The author asked Mehera the same question. Was it difficult for you, a person who adored the outdoors, who loved horses, to stay cooped up with two girls around you all the time? Mehera replied, we didn't think of it as difficult because with Baba, it didn't seem uh, it didn't seem unpleasurable or distasteful. It was difficult, but we were happy to be with Baba and to follow his orders. So to live in the ashram as Baba would want us. We were happy to do our work, to cook, to clean pots and pans. Every little thing occupied every minute. Was there ever a time that you felt so fed up that you asked Baba to relieve you of the order of having two people with you? Never. We were too eager to obey Baba's orders and to do things how he liked. Mani remembered we only crossed the garden path that Nadja and Franny were making, but did not go down it. I used to love the rain, but I couldn't watch it as I couldn't go out. And there was no windows in the east rooms except transoms through which we could watch it. It was a very restricted and cloistered life. Even so, somehow our life at Meherabad then was so full. There was nothing in the world there was nothing in the world I would have wanted but to be there. Tina, do you mind continuing reading from here?
No, Mani related an incident that taught her an important lesson. At a time like that, when much of the world was, of our world was those four walls, for some reason, someone sent a clock. The clock hung right next to my bed on the wall. It was thrilling to begin with, but after a while it started to irk me. I was a heavy sleeper, but the first thing in the morning I heard the clock. I was so irked that after a while I looked at the clock and I thought, it's you or me. I didn't tell anybody, but I began to imagine I loved that ticking sound, even if it was grinding my teeth. After a while, I got used to it. I really learned to love it. The foot has to adjust to a shoe. The shoe never adjusts to the foot. We have to adjust to Baba's pleasures instead of wanting him to adjust to our wants. Need some water. Hold on. Living such a restricted life, there were bound to be differences, and the women's lives were not free of mundane squabbling and conflicts. Baba was working on us, Mani clarified. That is why there are so many dust-ups. As always, I say, you must bless the little problems, the little things, because the little problems keep big problems away. We had no room for any big problems. We just had these little things all the time that Baba gave equal importance to. as anything big, the elephant and mosquitoes. As long as they are equally from Baba, you have to give them equal attention. You have to uphold it equally. The outlets, because of our life with Baba, were very strict, not easy. We were free to leave if we wanted to, but as Erich always says, we exercised our freedom to become his slaves. All we wanted to do was to be with Baba. Our only ambition in life was to be with Baba. But there were little outlets, although we couldn't go out of the East Room, which hadn't even windows. Baba would take us out of the room and we would play badminton with Baba. We had this pet dog, Chum, to look after, a bit of gardening, cooking, and washing to do. All the little things that make you constantly in line with Baba's ways. We had pets to look after, rabbits, snake, a birds. There was practically a zoo in that room, but everything had to be seen to meticulously. While Baba was traveling in the West, Kakabaria was his personal attendant. Kaka kept Baba's clothes in order and, among other duties, was always trimmed Baba's mustache, even when Baba was in India. But one day in 1934, Kaka came up the hill and Baba came up the hill and brought Kaka with him. Then they went into what later became the library. Baba called Mani. This was a small storeroom except for the empty bench and tiny bed that Gulmai sometimes used. Mani also received occasional injections from Padre there. Kaka showed her how to first comb the mustache in a straight line and with a small mustache comb, then to trim it afterwards. Barbara gargled so much that the tiny hairs would not go in his throat. Now you must show Mehera, Baba told her. Mani demonstrated it for Mehera. And from that day onwards, except when Baba was in the West or on a must tour with the Mandali, Mehera trimmed his mustache and every few weeks. She also began trimming Baba's toenails and fingernails from 1934. Khorshid was given the opportunity to trim Baba's mustache and nails and cut his nails once or twice. All of Baba's nails, mustache, clippings, and loose hair were carefully collected and preserved by Mehera. Baba's return trip from India from the West in 1935 had not been pleasant. In Vancouver, Baba caught a severe cold and almost bronchitis with a chill. And he was still ill when he reached Meherabad. Moreover, he had bleeding gums on board the ship. And in Singapore, he had a loose tooth extracted, still recovering. He had 2 more molars extracted at Lower Meherabad the day he arrived. I'll stop there because I think it's almost time. 289. Okay. I have to turn off the recording.